Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea, and today I'm going to start something kind of different on my channel. This is like 50% for me and 50% for you guys if you are interested in me continuing this series. I basically came up with this idea because there were so many sequels that got released this month, and to be honest, I'm really bad at remembering everything that happens in like the first book or the prior book to whatever sequel gets released. And I'm one of those people, I kind of scour Goodreads and recapping sites to try and figure out what actually happened in whatever book I'm reading the sequel to so that I don't really have to reread it, but I am caught up on everything that is currently happening in the story. So I kind of figured I would do a quick recap of books that have big releases coming out as far as sequels go. Also, if you guys have any books that you want me to recap, leave them in the comments and I will, if I have read it, I will try and recap it for you. If I have not read it, I will try and read it so that I can recap it for you guys. But I'm just gonna do really quick characters and plot synopsis. Obviously, these are going to be very spoilery, so if you are concerned about that, I will always be holding up whatever book I'm talking about or have the cover on the screen for the entire time that that is up. Don't listen to that part of the video if you don't want spoilers on a specific book. I'm going to do 3 in this video, and it'll probably kind of vary based on what is being released at the time. So if you just want to like skip ahead to a different part of the video for whatever book you want to see as a quick synopsis, feel free to click out of this if you are not a fan of spoilers, which would be me. I would hate to watch a video like this of a book that I've never read. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my first book. So the first book that I want to go over is A Court of Thorns and Roses. So in this book, our main characters are Feyre, who is our main chick. She is our protagonist that we are going to be following through the entire thing. She is human, and she is snarky, and she's awesome. We also meet Tamlin, who is the High Lord of the Spring Court. He's very lion-y, he's very Golden Mane-esque, and he is of course the love interest with a dark past and a curse. We're also meeting Lucien, who is Tamlin's kind of second-hand man and best friend, and he kind of befriends the two main characters, Feyre and Tamlin, and he is also an emissary for the Spring Court, and we learn a lot about his past throughout the course of this book. We meet Amarantha, who is the High Priestess, High Queen, I think, of Prythian, the world that we're set in. She is kind of the overseeing bitch. She's not cool. We don't like her. She's kind of the arch villain going on here. And also, as far as villains go, we're gonna meet Rysand, who is the High Lord of the Night Court and is kind of skeezy and kind of scummy, but I have a feeling he's going to play a really big role in the second book, so I feel like there might be a love triangle with him. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like he's one of those people who's a really badass guy for a reason, and we're going to learn more about him in the next book. So this book starts out with Feyre, who is hunting in the woods and kills a fae, which is not okay. In this world, humans and fae are completely separated. They have separate lands. You don't cross paths. You especially don't kill the fae because they are badass and they can kill the crap out of you. So she did that, and as punishment, she could either be executed or she could be taken back to Tamlin's castle, court, whatever, because that is the court of the fae that she killed. So obviously she goes with that path because, you know, life is pretty cool. And while she's there, she meets all these characters. She starts to fall in love with Tamlin, even though he is obviously scary and kind of mysterious and brooding. And also while she's there, she starts to learn about all the turmoil that is apparently happening between the different fae and the different courts that are occurring in this world. And we start to hear rumors about this her, who turns out to be Amarantha because she's this big scary person who has cursed the land, basically. And this curse is basically her working to eliminating humans and basically taking over everything because she is trying to redeem her sister, who hundreds of years ago fell in love with a human who betrayed her, broke her heart, and now Amarantha is kind of out for vengeance and wants to eliminate humans and just wants to oversee all of what the fae do in the world. But by doing that, she tries to marry Tamlin, who is, of course, super powerful, and he rejects her. So she curses him with the curse of finding a human girl who killed a fae out of hatred and making her fall in love with a fae, with him. And if he can do that within, I believe it's 50 years, the courts will be free and he will be free and humans can still live. So of course, over the course of this whole book, Feyre and Tamlin start to fall for each other, and he realizes that Amarantha finds out about that. And obviously Feyre is at risk because she does not want him to break the curse, so he sends her away back to the human land to try and be safe, but being the snarky bitch that she is, she comes right back, and goes through this whole trial at the end of the book where she goes through these 3 tests to prove her love, and if she can pass these 3 tests, everybody's set free, the curse is lifted, and everybody lives happily ever after. So of course she does these 3 tests, and Amarantha is not happy about it, so she kills her. Of course, Tamlin saves the day and kills Amarantha because she killed his one true love, and over the course of all this death occurring, he begs the High Fae to bestow Feyre with the immortality of being a High Fae, which occurs. While Feyre was going through all of these trials and tribulations, she gets hurt really, really badly, and the only way that she pretty much sees to save herself or to heal herself is to take on this agreement with Rysand, the High Lord of the Night Kingdom, again, the skeezy, creepy guy, that if he heals her with his fairy powers, she is to come to him for 1 week every single month, and she is tattooed with him, so everybody knows that this deal was going down. And that's pretty much where the book leaves off. We know that she is now a High Fae and immortal. She has this agreement that she has to follow through with, but everybody is free and lives happily ever after. Who knows? So on to A Court in Mist and Fury. The next book that I want to get into is The Wrath and the Dawn, because The Rose and the Dagger just came out. So in this book, I have no idea how to say their names, so excuse me butchering them the whole way through. Sharzad is our main chick. She's our main protagonist. She's pretty ballsy. She pretty much volunteers to be the bride of a king who takes a new bride every single night and by the morning kills them. So her best friend goes through this process and gets killed. So of course our main character wants vengeance. So we have her, and we have the evil child king, Khalid, who is the murdering royalty person. And then we have her family and her childhood sweetheart, who is named Tariq, and I'll get into them in a little bit. But basically, she goes to the palace on their wedding night when she is supposed to do whatever you do on your wedding night and then get killed. She decides to tell him a story, and as dawn approaches and she knows that her life is coming to an end, she decides to not finish that story so that he may be intrigued to let her live, which he is. And so she continues to do that night after night, always leaving him basically in suspense of how this story that she's telling him is going to end, and her trying to figure out what to do because she can only drag a story on for so long. So while she's at the palace, she actually lives a fairly normal life. Everybody is fairly nice to her, except for the few people who think she needs to die that we're trying to figure out what's going on behind the doors there. Over the course of the story, we are obviously trying to figure out why he has to kill his bride every night, and we meet his old tutor who tells Sharzad, I have no idea how to say that, the truth that when Khalid was 6 years old, he witnessed his father brutally murdering his stepmother after she had an affair with another person. So he is obviously pretty messed up over this. His dad is clearly a messed up person because his dad also cursed Khalid with the arrangement that he is to have 100 brides die for the one that he took away, because he blames Khalid for killing his mother, who committed suicide because obviously this guy was nutso and didn't want to stay married to him. So weird love triangle. Father and mother. The mother killed herself because the father's messed up. Father took another bride, killed her in front of him, and then cursed him with this. That if he did not take a new bride every single night, he would suffer from insomnia and horrible headaches and dizziness and basically all around crappy sickness, and he would lose his city. The one time that Khalid tried to disobey this and go against this curse, the city fell into famine, so he is obviously terrified of letting that occur. So that's where the whole curse comes in. But of course, throughout this book, Khalid and Sharzad fall in love with each other and are trying to figure out how to deal with this. Meanwhile, in the background, Sharzad's family is trying to save her and trying to murder this awful evil child king that everybody only knows the basics about. And she is trying to stop them because she knows the truth. Of course, it ends on a huge cliffhanger where we don't know what's gonna happen. The city is basically on fire because we're assuming because they are not together that this has been brought down on them, when in fact Her father has been learning ancient, really powerful magic and has created a lightning storm and set the city on fire, because, you know, who needs more drama? And who knows what's gonna happen now. So that's it for this one. Okay, the next one that I want to recap, I'm going to try and get through this as clearly as possible, and I actually don't have the first 3 books to hold up, so I'm going to hold up The Raven King, because this book just came out and I really need a recap because there are so many things that go down in this series. So, in this series, we're following 4 boys. Gansey, who is destined to die soon and is on a lifelong search to find the long-lost Welsh king Glendower, because apparently he can bestow power and wishes upon you. We are following Adam, who has now become the kind of puppet for Caveswater, the woods. The woods are kind of like working through him, and he can kind of manipulate these woods. We are following Ronan, who is the badass and the coolest character that I've read about in a long time, who has a raven named Chainsaw, who's awesome, and he is able to dream things into reality. There's Noah, who is dead, but a ghost, and is still kind of present, but he's dying very quickly, as in, like, going away quickly. And then we're following Blue, who is the girl amidst all of these, and she is the daughter of psychics with no psychic power, but she's kind of an amplifier for the psychics. She makes everybody's power more intense. And her prophecy is that if she kisses her true love, he will die. So we are all assuming that Gansey and Blue are destined for tragedy. Over the course of just Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is the 3rd book and the one that is right before this one, the most recent book, I'm going to try and go through the main plot points in this. We find out that there are 3 sleepers and that one should definitely not be woken. Blue's mom tries to go find her actual birth father, who is kind of missing either in the physical world or the spiritual world. We're not sure yet. Gansey's old professor comes to help them learn about the ley lines, which are what are going to lead them to Glendower's tomb. Hopefully. Meet Colin Greenmantle, who is the Grey Man's boss, trying to take him out because he wants to find Glendower first, and he is kind of our enemy in this book, who is also married to Piper Greenmantle, who is kind of a spoiled, crazy person. We also found out that Greenmantle put the hit on Ronan's dad, so I mean, we're adding to the villainous qualities here, guys. We learned that Gansey wants to use whatever crazy powers or wish that gets granted when he finds Glendower to bring Noah back to life. They find a cave system on a guy's property named Jesse Ditley, where they go to explore in it, but he kind of is not too sure about that because he has a curse on his family that cave essentially eats one of his family members every couple decades, otherwise his whole house starts to bleed, because, you know, I mean, that happens. Random plot point, we find out that Ronan actually dreamed his brother into existence, and that he has been going back to his family's property and trying to figure out a way to bring his mom kind of back to life, kind of reanimate her. So Ronan kind of confides in Adam about all this, so Adam is aware of Ronan's weird secrets. We also open up a tomb in hopes of finding Glendower, but instead we find his bastard daughter, who gets released and ends up coming home with them to the aunt's house. And she is kind of crazy and kind of obnoxious, but kind of has some information that we obviously need to know. Over the course of all this, we are still trying to find Blue's mother, and one of her aunts, Persephone, is scrying to try and find her, and she gets lost too far in the spirit world and ends up dying, so that was a pretty climactic scene that happened at the end of this book. And moving into the big climactic scene, everybody is pretty much going into the cave system to find Glendower, to find Blue's mom. The teens go, Greenmantle goes, his wife goes, everybody just goes. Jesse Ditley gets killed, he gets shot. They do not find Glendower, but they do end up awakening these weird skeleton creatures. Okay, this scene, you just kind of have to read it. It's really hard to explain, guys. Blue and Ronan end up taking these creatures and ending up at a mirror lake where they find her mom and her birth father, Artemis, I think. Stuff happens, the cave pretty much collapses on top of them, and they escape. Afterwards, we find out that Piper, the spoiled rich wife of Greenmantle, followed them in there and did not make it out. But she did find another tomb of the 3rd sleeper that was not meant to be woken, and she wakes it. So that's where the book ends. Dun dun dun. That's kind of an overview of the main points that stuck out to me in Blue Lily Lily Blue that I wanted to know going into this one. And I am so ready to experience this, and I'm terrified at the same time. So that's gonna be it for me this video. I hope you guys are reading some amazing books, and I will see you next time.